Welcome back to Beyond28. I'm Mark Spears from ESPN's The Undefeated, and today's guest is one of my boys, man. Former NBA player, voice of the Warriors. Welcome to the show, Kelenna Azubuike.
Appreciate
What's
it.
up,
Man.
Kelenna?
I'm good, man. How you been, brother? Good to see you.
Oh, shoot, man. I'm trying to figure out the world, man. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, good to hear your voice.
You know, I got a lot of interesting questions for you. Actually, this is stuff I probably would have asked you if we had time of late. We've both been real busy, but I've always been curious about your Nigerian background, and especially as I get to know more and more about the continent. Mm-hmm. So first thing I wanted to ask you, being the child of immigrants from Nigeria and growing up in London, what was it like moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma?
It was different. But I was born in London. My parents are Nigerian, like you say, and they wanted us to be raised in America. And so that was their ultimate goal. We ended up going to London first and stayed there pretty much until all my siblings were born. My sister was born in '87, so we moved right after that. And I guess a lot of people go from Nigeria to London. I'm not exactly sure why, but my parents did. Some of our friends did. Some of our cousins did as well. So we ended up in London for a while, but they ultimately wanted us to be raised in America and ended up moving there. So we moved there after '87. So I was only there for about 4 years in London, and then we moved to the States. So the first place we moved to was Dallas. That's where my uncle was. So we actually lived close to them for a while, and then we moved to Tulsa after that. And I was in kindergarten in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that was pretty much the first place I remember. I kind of remember some of Dallas. I remember hanging out with our uncles and our relatives there for a little bit. I remember the first time we ate pizza was in Dallas, and I remember we hated it. We just thought it was the most disgusting thing in the world. I think it was Pizza Hut we first had, and we're like, what is this? This is disgusting, because we had never had that before. In London, we never had it either. So we hated that at first, and then I guess we just kept eating it. I can't remember when we started liking it, but there was a transition at some point. So it was just different. And I remember one of the main reasons my parents wanted us to move to Tulsa was there's a school that they liked there called Victory Christian School. So as soon as we went to Tulsa, they enrolled us there. We were in kindergarten in that school, and it was definitely different, but it was kind of the first real home we remember. And when we were in Tulsa, we moved a lot growing up. It was kind of unstable at times, but it was home. It was home for a while, and we enjoyed our time there, and that's kind of where we were raised. But I didn't really get my first taste of Africa and Nigeria until I went there in 2015. We went to Abuja, and it was with the NBA, and they were working on their NBA Africa league there. And so we went there and did some camps and talked to a lot of the kids there, and that was really cool. And we got to kind of go around. I didn't get to go to Lagos, where my parents spent a lot of time, or Enugu, where my parents grew up. So I definitely want to get back there at some point too. But my parents never really let us go to Nigeria, except my older brother and my dad went to Nigeria, I think a couple times. But my parents never let us go until later on, because there were still some issues there that they weren't very comfortable with. And then our family stuff, there was some family stuff there that it's a long story. I don't know if we have time to go into that, but it was interesting. I always wanted to check out where my parents were from, the motherland, and I finally got to go back in 2015, at least close to where they were spending most of their time. to Abuja, and that was definitely an interesting experience for sure.
So how did you get into basketball, and when you first brought up that you had a love for the game to your parents, what was their reaction?
Well, we were all about soccer growing up, especially coming from London. We knew that soccer was big there, and I didn't really know much about basketball when we moved to the States. Obviously, I was super young, but my brother got into basketball first. My older brother, Nonzo, he started playing, and I think he started around first grade, and I was still kind of playing soccer. He had been playing for a while, and I finally went and watched one of his games when he kind of first started. And it was interesting at first, but I was still a soccer guy. I was like, I'm good in soccer. I feel like this is what I'm going to end up doing. Wasn't sure about professional, which one is better professionally or more attainable. Didn't really know about the NBA when I first started, but I believe I was in second grade when I started watching him a little more and just kind of fell in love with basketball, watching him play, and wanted to try it myself. So I kind of made the transition over probably around second grade from soccer to basketball, retired my soccer jersey, and yeah, I actually hung it up in my room and I was like, this is my retirement ceremony. I'm having my own retirement ceremony, and switched over to basketball. And at first I was not good. I was terrible. In fact, my first basket was actually for the other team. I scored for the other team. They shot the ball and I got the rebound. The basket was right there. I was like, I'm probably supposed to just put it back up and in. And so I went up and I scored and was super excited until I was looking at our coach and he didn't seem as excited as I was. And so I realized pretty soon after that no, that's not how it works. You get a rebound, you go back the other way and scored on the other end. So I finally learned the rules of the game and got better and better. And then I got good enough to get a scholarship to Kentucky, and the rest is kind of history. But I my love for the game grew as I played, and it was definitely the right choice for me.
You've gotten into philanthropy a lot. Is that something that was instilled into you from your family? And then also tell us about the Athletes Corner.
Definitely. My parents, we were raised to believe that you're blessed to be a blessing, and we've been Christians all our lives, and just feel like giving back is what we're supposed to do. It's our responsibility. When you're put in a position where you can give back, you give back. And so that's always been instilled in us from a very young age, thanks to my parents. And so the Athletes Corner, basically I started it with my co-founder, Brennan Creer, and we basically work with athletes to help encourage, uplift, and encourage families that are struggling physically, mentally, and spiritually through the avenue of sports. So we're all about family, faith and family, and we basically help athletes to kind of use their platform for good, and we can come behind them and amplify whatever it is they're doing, whatever it is they're passionate about when it comes to giving back, as long as it's something to do with faith and family, which is pretty broad subjects, and a lot of different things can fit into those two little categories. And so it's really been a blessing. We've been able to work with a lot of athletes across the board, different sports. We teamed up with the Warriors to do Swishes for Dishes, which is 100 meals for every point scored. And this is the second year we're doing that. We'll get to 1 million meals this season again, and it's been cool to see how people have reacted to it. We just kind of wanted to make it kind of a fun, innovative thing that the fans can get into, and it can take place during a season and the players can be a part of it in their own way, basically scoring buckets and just knowing that every time they score, it means more than just a point on the scoreboard. It means people are getting fed. So we're proud of it, and we want to do much more. And we kind of really launched it during the pandemic, and food insecurity was a big issue. So we just feel like as a nonprofit organization, we can just kind of pivot into whatever we feel like the need is during that time. And so we wanted to do whatever we could to help, and we just wanted to get creative and work with athletes to do that. And so we've worked with a lot of NFL players and basketball, and it's been pretty cool to see God kind of do his thing. And it's just kind of our ministry tool, our tool to give back. And we just kind of handed it over to God, and he's kind of taken it where he wants it to go. And so it's been a blessing to kind of to see people get blessed and people get fed, because there's people still struggling. Food insecurity is still a huge issue. The pandemic is still going on, obviously, but there's people that have lost their livelihoods. And it's not like once everything kind of gets back to normal or gets closer to getting back to normal gradually that people are just going to be okay. There's people that are still hurting out there, and so we want to be able to help meet that need and be a vessel for God to use in that way. So it's been amazing to watch, and we're looking to do more.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew this. I lived in Tulsa from 95 to 97.
I think you might have told me that before. But
yeah, worked for the Tulsa World, and that was my first job. And I did want to ask you, having spent time in Tulsa, were you familiar with the Tulsa race riots, and did you ever go to that memorial that they have there?
Yeah, I never went to the memorial. Honestly, then this is the thing I've talked about too. In the curriculums, the Tulsa curriculums, it wasn't even in there until later on. And so I didn't hear about the Tulsa race riots and all those different things that happened, the Tulsa Massacre, until I was almost done with college, and I was in Kentucky. And so next time I go to Tulsa, I'd love to get more into that and visit the memorial and all that stuff. And that's a problem, that it wasn't in the curriculum until later on. I think 2020 might be the first time they actually agreed to put it in curriculum to start teaching about it, I believe. I was researching it last year some. But yeah, it's crazy. And I think it's definitely important that it's in curriculum, so children and young adults understand what people are capable of, and so they can move accordingly, but also understand that we still have a lot of work to do. We have come a long way, but it's important that we move forward knowing that hey, this is what people are capable of, and it's kind of different now. It's more systemic and it's more subtle, but there's still that issue in our world today and in our country. So yeah, but it's interesting. It wasn't in curriculums. No one talked about it when I was in school. I had no idea about it, and that's sad, but that's how it was. It was kind of suppressed, and they didn't want us to learn about it in school. Our history books were just they just picked and chose whatever they wanted to put in the history books and taught us that. And so yeah, it's upsetting, but that's how it was back then. And so I'm glad I've learned about it now, and it's horrifying to think about what happened. And so as horrifying as it is, people need to know about it, and kids need to be taught that and understand what happened, so they can understand the world they're living in, but also understand that, hey, we can be optimistic and learn to love. Hate is learned, racism is learned, but we can learn to love and not be colorblind, but see everybody, all colors, and embrace everybody. Our differences is what is beautiful about all of us together. So that's what I think about it.
How much did your faith play a role in you starting Athletes Corner?
That was the main thing. That was the main thing for us. I've always felt like the two go hand in hand. My relationship with Jesus is my life, and everything I've been through with my family and my career, it all revolves around that, and that's kind of my identity. That is my identity, not kind of. So as a follower of Jesus Christ, I believe that that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to give back. I'm supposed to do my best to bless other people, try to meet other people's needs, and let God work through me in that way. So my co-founder is the exact same way, and for us, it's just ministry. I don't feel right unless I'm doing something ministry-wise to give back, to help people. I don't want to just be kind of living life for myself, and the Athletes Corner really scratches that itch, that ministry itch for me. So that's what it's about for me, and it's cool to be able to do it in a fun way, in a way that really hasn't been done the way we're doing it, because we got the social media aspect, and really we just try to amplify when other athletes are talking about their faith or anything that really inspires them, anything of substance, anything that's encouraging, uplifting, because we feel like social media is so, in a lot of ways, it can be so depressing, and people have anxiety and mental issues because of social media in a lot of different ways, and their identity is on social media, and that can be really detrimental to their health and their mental health in a lot of different ways. And a lot of the stuff that's on social media isn't really that uplifting, and you see someone else's life that you almost envy, and it makes you feel bad about yours, and people compare themselves to other people. We just wanted to kind of change the conversation, and just when people look at our social media, they're encouraged, they're uplifted, they're looking to God, and that's what it's about for us. We just want to help people and encourage them and uplift families as much as we can. We feel like families are so important, especially for young adults and kids growing up, to have that family stability, and whatever we can do to strengthen that and help families stay together is super important for us. And I feel like the youth is our future. The more we can help them grow in a healthy way, the better. And so it's kind of all encompassing when it comes to faith and family, and we kind of try to aim our initiatives and campaigns towards those two things.
Yeah. How important is it to you, or how much gratification do you get from feeding families?
It's huge. It's super gratifying, especially when we get to be on the ground and actually help serve, and that's what we've been able to do with different food banks and the events with the Warriors and Kaiser Permanente. We get to actually hand out these meals to people, and it's interesting because you see people that seem to be doing fine, drive through there with nice cars and all of that, and they were doing well, but then the pandemic hit, and now they've fallen on tough times, and it's really sad what the pandemic has done to people and how it's affected people. So, but to go out there and be able to hand people these meals, these big boxes of meals, and understand that they're going to be well fed for at least a while, and it feels really good. And so it's more blessed to give than to receive. It really is. And when you get to experience someone being blessed by something you have a hand in, there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it. So I'm just thankful to be able to help, and thankful to the Warriors and Kaiser Permanente. They're like-minded. They're all about having a positive impact in the community and helping in whatever way they can. And so we all came together to get this Swishes for Dishes initiative off the ground, and it's been a tremendous success. And But the best part is actually being on the ground and seeing the meals being delivered to these families and seeing their faces and hearing them say thank you and God bless you and all these different things. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And lastly, what's next for your program? What do you hope to do in the future?
Just to expand, we want to do more than just meals. We want to do clothes. We want to do school supplies. We want to do anything that can help families, and we're just going to expand and go into more sports, work with more athletes, more teams, and we're getting other brands on board, and so it's just going to get bigger and bigger, and we just want to have a bigger impact. And so the social media is growing, and so it's just doing as much as we can, more campaigns, more athletes, and we'll just go from there and see what God does with it. Because where we are right now, we could have never imagined being here at this early in our existence, because we just launched not too long ago. So it's been pretty cool to see, and we have so many different ideas, but we just want to be the go-to when it comes to faith and family and sports. And so we're kind of occupying that brain space among athletes right now. We kind of want to help them and come behind whatever it is they're doing, be the foundation behind the athlete foundations, and be kind of the conduit for brands and companies to work with multiple athletes. And so we bring a lot of value in that way. So we're just going to expand and grow it, and it's going to be an organic thing, but it's going to be cool to see.
Man, Kelenna, man, continued success on the court, in the community. Thank you for everything you're doing for the world, man. And I'll catch you soon, brother.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for being on Beyond 28.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, brother.